And the cozy mythology of Christmas, carolers are a living greeting card. A rosy-cheeked group, bundled in scarves, their breath misting in the frosty air as they sing of peace and joy under the warm glow of a gas lamp. It's a beautiful, nostalgic image. But what happens when the song doesn't end? What if their purpose isn't to bring cheer, but to collect something? My great-aunt Eleanor used to live alone in a rambling Victorian house at the end of a long, winding lane in rural Vermont. It was a beautiful, isolated place, but in the heart of winter, when the snows came, it became a world of its own, cut off from everything. This story took place on one such Christmas, during a blizzard that had buried the county for 2 days straight. It was the evening of the 22nd of December. Aunt Eleanor was settled by the fireplace, a book in her lap, the only sounds being the crackle of the fire and the howl of the wind outside. Then through the gale she heard it. Singing. It was the carol Silent Night, rendered in a flawless four-part harmony. She was perplexed. The lane was impassable, and the nearest neighbor was over 3 miles away. Who on earth would be out caroling in this weather? Still, touched by the impossible gesture, she pulled on a robe and peered through the peephole in her heavy oak door. 4 figures stood in the swirling snow, 2 men and 2 women dressed in antiquated Dickensian winter wear. They held old-fashioned lanterns that cast a flickering, unsteady light on their faces, which were mostly obscured by shadow and falling snow. They seemed to be smiling. Eleanor opened the door a crack, the wind snatching at it. She thanked them for their beautiful song and offered them some money and hot cocoa, but they simply smiled, shook their heads in unison, and turned to walk away, their voices fading as they were swallowed by the storm. She thought it was a lovely, albeit bizarre, Christmas memory. The next night, the 23rd of December, the blizzard had subsided, but the world was still buried in a deep, silent blanket of white. At the exact same time, 9 o'clock, the singing began again. The same carol, the same perfect, emotionless harmony. Aunt Eleanor's heart began to beat a little faster. This was no longer a charming anecdote. This was strange. She didn't go to the door this time. She crept to the frosted window and scraped a small viewing hole. There they were, standing in the exact same spot as the night before, their previous footprints untouched by any new snow, as if they had never left. Their smiles were fixed, their postures rigid. The sound, she realized with a growing horror, was not quite right. It was too perfect, too clean, with none of the subtle imperfections of a live performance. It sounded like a recording, yet it was clearly coming from them. She watched until the song finished, and just like before, they turned and vanished into the darkness. That night, Eleanor had trouble sleeping. The melody of Silent Night was stuck in her head, a cold, repetitive loop. On the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, a sense of deep foreboding settled over her. She spent the day making sure every window and door was locked, a feeling of being watched growing with every passing hour. As the grandfather clock in the hall began to chime 9, the singing started. On cue. This time Eleanor went to an upstairs window that overlooked the front porch. From this higher vantage point, the lantern light illuminated their faces more clearly. What she saw made her gasp and stumble back, her hand clamped over her mouth to stifle a scream. They were smiling, yes, but their eyes were wide open, unblinking, glassy like the eyes of porcelain dolls. Their pupils were huge and dark, reflecting no light from the lanterns. And their lips were not moving. The perfect, beautiful harmony was emanating from them, from their still, smiling faces, as if the sound itself was leaking out of them. They weren't people. They were vessels for the song. She immediately called the police. The dispatcher was sympathetic but firm. The roads were still treacherous. The earliest a patrol car could get out to her was morning. He advised her to stay inside and not engage with them. Eleanor huddled in the darkest corner of her living room, listening to the unending carol, a sound that was once a symbol of peace, now a tool of psychological torture. They sang it again and again and again. The clock struck midnight, the first chime of Christmas Day. And in that instant, the singing stopped. The sudden, absolute silence was more terrifying than the song itself. Eleanor held her breath, listening. Then she heard a new sound. A soft, delicate tapping on the front door. Tap, tap, tap. A man's voice, gentle and unnervingly calm, spoke through the wood. Eleanor, it said, we know you are in there. It is your turn now. Her blood turned to ice. How did they know her name? A woman's voice joined the first, equally serene. Your part is the soprano, it said. The space is waiting. We always leave a space. And then she understood. They weren't here to give. They were here to take. The soft tapping became a hard, rhythmic pounding. Bam, bam, bam. The four voices outside rose together, but this time it was a new carol, a discordant, ancient-sounding tune with lyrics in a language she didn't recognize, but which felt viscerally wrong. The song seemed to vibrate in her bones, pulling at her, filling her with a strange, horrifying desire to unlock the door and add her voice to theirs. She crawled away, pressing her hands over her ears, humming loudly to herself, anything to block out the hypnotic, malevolent sound. The assault on the door, and her senses continued all through the longest night of her life. Just as the first pale light of Christmas morning filtered through the windows, the pounding and singing ceased as if a switch had been flipped. When the police finally arrived, they found a terrified, exhausted Eleanor. And on her front porch, they found 4 distinct sets of deep footprints in the snow, leading up to the door and then simply stopping. Her heavy oak door was covered in long, black scratches, like charred fingernails had been clawing at the wood for hours. Eleanor sold the house that spring. She never spent another Christmas alone. She said that sometimes, late at night during the holiday season, if the world is quiet enough, she can still hear a faint, perfect harmony on the edge of the wind, and she knows that somewhere out there the unending carol is still being sung, still searching, forever recruiting for its vacant part.